I've pressed the record button, Lynn, so we're all set.
Okay.
Well, good day, everyone. This is Joseph Antel with Adjuvant Protocols for Healing. My book of over 100 pages, 500 pages, excuse me, related to human health and the dynamics of human health as it relates to many conditions. And as you well know, there are still many questions related to human health, especially from a holistic standpoint and an allopathic standpoint. But there are also many answers, and more are coming through allopathy, and they tie in with what we have been doing from a holistic standpoint, which is wonderful. And so today we're going to look at nutritional insights into depression and anxiety. It's going to be different. It's different thinking. And that's what I've attempted to do with all of you on this particular call and related to my book. To not teach the way everyone else is teaching. Just tying in specific singular nutrients, but using whole food and herbal complexes and formulations. Lynn Mayer, of course, my colleague for 15 years now, helped me produce this PowerPoint. So thanks to Lynn, and of course, Ellen Lamolt, who's been with me since 1993 as an assistant, creating these PowerPoints. And what we're going to look at today is, yes, depression and anxiety, but based on some recent findings, which you may be aware of, but a lot that you won't be aware of, related to gastrointestinal biome health and brain chemistry imbalances. So this is part one, and there will be another part two because we won't get to everything today. Now, you have my email address and you have Lynn Mayer's email address. And as we go through the different tests that we're recommending and the way I approach nutrition, and Lynn does as well, if you want assistance in reading these various tests, and I'll get into this in a little bit, Lynn is available for a consulting fee. She no longer works for Standard Process directly, so she has her own independent consulting company now. And so you can contact Lynn. You have her email address to help you read and determine the best application of nutrition. And Lynn really is a master at blood work and reading the GI, different various GI panels from diagnostics in particular. So when we look at anxiety and depression, they are different. Anxiety and depression are types of mood disorders, among other things. Depression causes feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and reduced energy. Anxiety creates feelings of nervousness, worry, dread, that the rumination, as they say in Ayurvedic, constantly thinking of things over and over again, not usually good things. Although the two conditions are different, you can have both at the same time, which many people do. Remember that this is important, and this may involve some of you or your family members. 10% of Americans suffer from depression, with the mood disorder increasing fastest among teens and young adults, the younger generations who have grown up with chemicals and refined foods. And we're going to look at this. This is really important because allopathy, and I have a slide here in a second, has certain answers. But they're not the right answers. They contain and control depression and anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, but they're not really fixing it. They're not getting to the malnutrition part. Malnutrition, inflammation, disease. So we'll go deeper into this. Oh, that's a repeat of that slide. Now, allopathic medicine, people need to be on SSRIs and other things. They need that support. So our part as nutritionists, as holistic practitioners, no matter what our modality is to bring in another part of what is needed, to understand and bring that to people. Everything that I'm going to recommend today, even if they are on different types of medications, you can rest assured that you can use standard process and most herbs. You can always go on the MediHerb website to see if it's contraindicated with medications, but you can use most herbs if they are on medications, and the diets we're going to recommend as well. So it is important to note, as is said here, just as no two people are affected by depression exactly the same, neither is there a one-size-fits-all treatment to cure depression. Our role is not to cure anything. Our role is to bring the body back into an equilibrium, a balance that assures people that they have quality of life by the way they live, not by the way they have been living and depending on just a chemical to help them. Yes, that does help. It keeps them from harming themselves and going deeper into more serious levels of these conditions. But it's not the answer to fixing it. What works for one person might not work for another. Most of nutrition will work for everyone to some degree. And as the protocols that you'll see from my book, I always list them in order, the products and what can be done in order of importance to be added to it. And I never start any of my protocols with an herb, by the way. Always with the food concentrates first. By becoming as informed as possible, though, you can find the treatments that can help you overcome depression, feel happy and hopeful again, and reclaim your life. This is a great article, and this one goes with that, that the different types of allopathic care that is out there. So as always with these PowerPoints and these links, you can go into them and you can share them with your clients, your family, and review them yourself. So with what is provided through for depression, different types of treatment, antidepressants, psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, somatic therapies, and of course, the one I don't recommend is electroconvulsive therapy. But that's what's out there. That's what's in allopathy. So, we have to work that as best possible. So when we look at the body, as always, I've shown this to you many times. What does Joseph think about, and Lynn as well? What do we think about looking at with a person? Well, of course, the foundational application and direction is to support the immune alliances of the body, the digestion, the endocrine, nervous system, cardiovascular system. And today we're not so looking at musculoskeletal health, dental health, brains, eyes, and ears. But we're definitely looking at the nervous system and endocrine system for sure, and the digestive system. So, and as always, as you know, you've been with me, some of you for many, many years now, that the application is to find the accurate vitamin, the accurate specific mineral or ranges of mineral and vitamins, essential fatty acids, and then the protomorphogen for that individual, for that condition. Now, we can look today, which I've shared with you before, is what tests do I run on clients? What do I feel to get a good look? And here they are, the system survey form. Lynn's going to talk about that. Blood work, and Lynn will talk about that in the chapter 2 of this conversation. And then heart sound recorder as well, and then the diagnostic labs, the actually looking at the gut biome. So, Lynn, if you want to share with us your life experience with the symptom survey form, just to take that one right now.
Okay. And if you'll go up one slide previously for just a moment. So as he mentions there, there's complimentary pads of tear-off sheets available from Standard Process so that you can have them available in your office to have people fill out. And there's a practitioner key there, and they're both available at the standardprocess.com. And then you can go on to the Maestro. I've been using the Maestro symptom survey system. Joseph, if you could go forward one more slide. Yes. I've been using this particular Maestro system for years and years, and it's hard to get me to want to move off of it at all because I have so much database in my file now, but it's has the ability to be electronically sent to your patients, to your clients prior to their coming in. So, and it calculates everything for you so that you can see what system is most out of balance and how much you can. I put a couple examples on the right of what a particular panel might look like. It will also offer you to then print out a description. You can print out a description of each one of the group descriptions, choosing. I usually choose, I want to let people know, I want to at least address the top 3, and you can pick as many of these systems as you want to have described to the patient how their answers fit into that. I usually just choose the top 3. And then there's the option, the second one I showed you there, this particular client of mine I've been seeing since 2011. And so it allows you to you can pick up to 4 different visits and find out, or times that you've checked the symptom survey, and see how things have changed over time. And what I find is that my clients very much like to read about themselves and see the differences. And they're always updating it with the new products and all of that. So I'm very fond of the Maestro. There's a free trial that you can do. That doesn't allow you to send it electronically, but it allows you or your staff to go in and manually enter things as they would if they had the electronic version, so that you can see what it looks like and use it on your patients and your clients for a trial period of 30 days. So I know there's a number of different symptom survey systems that are out there. I've just been very fond of this one because I've used it for years. If it's something you want some further feedback or want me to show you what it looks like, you're welcome. You have my email address there. If you could need any help with it, I'm happy to give you some further guidance. So that's all I have to say, Joseph.
Thank you, Lynn. That's great. And by the way, the reason we like this was designed, this format, what it covers, comes out of the 1960s. A man named Leo Leo Rutherford in Texas, I believe. Yes, that's it. Leo Rutherford from Dallas, Texas, who was a dear friend of Dr. Lee's and really the top expert in the technology that we know today as the heart sound recorder. I have old notes of his that are incredible. So he designed the symptom survey form to look at the whole person, to look how autonomically they're functioning. Say a person with anxiety or depression, to tie it in with our theme today, could be very sympathetic dominant or very parasympathetic dominant. So it describes that. It has a whole category for digestion, for the heart, cardiovascular system, and the endocrine system. The key look at a person as to whether it's functioning or not, and whether their body is communicating accurately and in balance. So those are the real 5 areas that is so great about this. And so, as Lynn was saying, this is the main one that most are using, though there are others. So let's get into our theme today: gastrointestinal biome health. So this is something that some of you may, if you've studied other things like the GAPS diet, you've been exposed to a lot of information on this, but this is really coming to the fore now in relationship to depression and anxiety. New research has bolstered a once gusty idea. Bugs in the digestive system may play a role in depression. 2 studies published in the Journal of Natural Communications found a link between several types of bacteria in the gut and depressive symptoms. Trillions of microorganisms, including bacteria, fungi, yeast, live in the digestive tract. Research exploring whether they might affect an array of diseases has increased in recent years. It's a great article. You should read all of these through in your time, even if you read 1 a day. Here's another one. Evidence is accumulating that gut microbiota may influence brain activity and behavior via neural and hormonal humoral pathways, and may have translational applications in the treat of psychopathic disorders. Several animal studies that gut microbiota might have impact on neurobiological features of depression. So here's another one. So I've given you a range so that you know that this is really out there now. If you have a client, or you have clients, family members, or yourself, you're working with any degree of this, the primary 2 things that we're considering today, the gut biome and the brain chemistry, really come to the top of what you can do to support and surround this. Earlier this year, we offer a deep dive into how poor gut health may increase risk of anxiety and depression. And think of these, where this 10% has, the amount of people with depression now in the country has moved up to 10%. It used to be 8%. It's the young people, because of the food, the forever chemicals that they're exposed to, and just their lifestyle. So our awareness of this now, not blaming genetics, but really looking at how to make this gut healthy as possible. There's a lot of research now with trying to create drugs, of course. The 8-person company plans to capitalize on growing evidence from epidemiological animal studies that link gut bacteria to conditions diverse as autism, anxiety, Alzheimer's disease. Yes, everyone, we're not looking at that today, or autism. We have in the past, and depression, of course. Since its founding a mere 5 years ago, Holobiome has created one of the world's largest collection of human gut microbes. So they're studying this. But the targeted ailments include depression, insomnia. Just stop for a minute and think how many clients come in with all ranges. Remember, everyone's different. Everyone has a different degree of depression, anxiety, sleeplessness. Insomnia is a form of depression or anxiety. It is. At least according to the gospel, according to Joseph, it is. That is the back of it. So as well as constipation, visceral pain, so internal organ pain and discomfort, like the typical IBS. You know, I've shared articles with you that they feel, studies done now back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that 50% of those with IBS or Crohn's have been sexually molested. 50%. That's what that study was. Based on those studies, I think there were 2 that I have somewhere. So IBS, all of these digestive conditions related to the bowel. Remember, when you're looking at the digestive system, you're looking at the subconscious mind of that person, their consciousness. It all is reflected there. I can't eat when I'm nervous. From that to, if I eat that because there's some association with an emotion or an experience in life, if I eat that, it goes right through me. Just listen to the story. Conditions that may have neurological as well as intestinal components. A mild man, isn't prone to visionary seeing. Yeah, I don't want to read any of that. Okay. And then the rest of this. So, and they're doing this research, of course, to find drugs, to find other things that aren't so toxic. The allure is simple. Drug development for psychiatric disorders, I couldn't say that word before, I got it that time, has lagged for decades. There's nothing new, everyone, or very little that's new in allopathy. And many existing drugs don't work for all patients and cause unwanted side effects. Let me tell you, these medications, and believe me, if you need to be on those, you have my love and support to be on those. Absolutely. But you have to remember, they're very toxic medications. So we'll get into that, how you can work with that. A growing number of researchers see a promising alternative in microbe-based treatments or psychobiotics, a term coined by John Kyron. This is a really young and really exciting field with a huge amount of potential. So, and this doctor from the University of Massachusetts, Lowell, who is looking into the connections between gut microbes and Parkinson's disease as well. And what we're going to consider in the second part of this it ties in with depression, anxiety, all of these other conditions. And it does relate to Parkinson's disease and other neurological diseases. It's very exciting. I had so much fun really delving into the research. So, so this goes on to tell you about, again, you can read this through, this Dr. Mayer, not related to Lynn that we know of, the mind-gut connection. He said the findings may reflect a general disease effect rather than gut bacteria patterns that are specific to depression. So, and there's an article that he wrote about this. Gut microbiome refers to trillions of bacteria and other microorganisms that live in the digestive system. Those microbiomes are believed to do much more than aid in digestion. However, study shows they are involved in everything from immune system. Now, you and I have looked at this for years. The immune alliance, the gut biome is 70 to 90%. Defenses to producing vitamins, anti-inflammatory compounds, and even chemicals that influence the brain. So fascinating. So we can start to look at what our answers are to this. And one of the tremendous provisions is Monica Corrado in her book, because whenever you look at the gut, you must think of fermentation. You must begin to look at foods and a lifestyle of eating these foods that bring out, that support the indigenous bacteria, so that these other bacteria, funguses, molds, other substances in the gut cannot take hold. They cannot live. They cannot live in an acid medium. They can only live in an alkaline medium. And these fermented foods that have been used for thousands of years. Mark Anderson was talking, he did a lecture yesterday on he talked about sauerkraut from cabbage. You know, the sailing ships where the men got scurvy, eventually they carried cabbages. Now, a lot of you have heard the story about they carried limes and gave them limes, but limes don't last for months at sea. Cabbage does. High amounts of vitamin C and balancing their gut biome. Now, they didn't know that, but the fermented cabbage, i.e. sauerkraut, kept these men alive, changed war at sea and travel, and the carrying of goods from one continent to the other. No small thing. So this is the GAPS diet as well that Monica has written, the complete techniques of the gut and psychology syndrome. Here it is, the picture of the book from Saline River Press, and using that GAPS diet. Now, the other one that I have used with these clients, from individuals with IBS, with all kinds of challenges, psychology challenges in any way, is the paleo diet. To take the sugar out of the diet, to take the high carbohydrate out of the diet. The paleo diet, which does include a lot of good fats, vegetables, and proteins. So, and of course, this is from my book as well, the ultimatepaleodiet.com. So why is this so important? Because the gut is known, as you well know, as the second brain. Our brain and gut are connected by an intricate network of neurons, chemicals, and hormones. So here are some of these. I'm going to just go back and forth here. I just want to read you some. The gut's brain, known as the enteric nervous system, is located in sheets of tissue lining not just the gut. Remember the whole, and I have another slide that should go before this one, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, and large intestine, i.e. the colon. Layer contains sensory cells that communicate with the mesenteric plexus and the motor fibers that stimulate the secretion of fluids in the lumen. So these also, you can see this lining here attaches the bowel to the body wall and contains major arteries, veins, lymphatics, and external nerves. So you can read this through and study this, how the bowel is actually made up. This is interesting. No nerves actually enter this area inside this part, the very interior of the bowel. This area where digestive occurs. The brain in the head and the brain in the head and gut have to monitor conditions in the human, in the lumen across the lining of the bowel. So very interesting how the nerves come in and how they work. The intricate network consistently provides information through the brain-gut axis. If you put a poison in your body, when does that start? It starts right when it enters the mouth. The parotid gland has enzymes, some say hormones, that tag that substance so the body immediately knows that there's something good that's going to be a benefit or something bad that has to be handled. And this information provides updates to the state of affairs of the brain, stress, and the gut, pit of the stomach, right? That's what we say. I can't eat breakfast because I have this test today. How many children say that? I have this feeling in the pit of my stomach. That's the brain giving the message to prepare for that test. That's called the before the test syndrome. That's what IBS is. That's a state of depression or anxiety more. That's a state. You know, athletes throw up or have diarrhea before a game. Musicians do. People that speak publicly. This intricate network sends messages to the brain about the status of the gut and directly impacts gut environment. And so here it is, as we've been looking. It isn't just the large and small intestine. It's all of it. And so the products that we recommend, now this is out of my book, and you can see that I recommend paleo or ketogenic diet, particularly for the small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, SIBO. And I'm going to go through these products really quickly. But you can see that where we absorb most of our nutrients is in the 25 feet, 20 to 25 feet of small intestine. So after the products are broken down into chyme in the stomach, they go into the small intestine and are absorbed or not absorbed. Not absorbed. And that's why the first product you can see, now remember the way I have written my whole book is in order of importance. So you could say, well, you know, I have them on so many things, Joe, give me two things. Okay, ochrapepsin, there it is. And I'll tell you some stories about that. And you've heard me tell the story of Dr. Kelly, the man who wrote One Answer to Cancer, that really provided, brought old ways of working, of healing cancer and dealing with cancer into the 20th century. He's not alive now. But he said that if he could give one product to the world to prevent cancer, if we could give one product to the world that would begin to bring back the integrity of the gut lining for depression and anxiety, this is the one. So, and Dr. Kelly was adamant about what this product does, that it removes the barrier in the duodenum, the first 12 to 18 inches. where most food and nutrients are absorbed. They're broken down. The proteins are now broken down into amino acids. And the other nutrients, the vitamins and minerals, are also available to go into the bloodstream in that first 12 to all through the small intestine, but particularly here. This is where the people with celiac disease have most issues, this first foot to foot and a half, because the villi are laying down, they're not standing up. And so the nutrients can't get through into the bloodstream. And that starts, there's all kinds of ideas about celiac, but to me, in my book, it starts with this mucosal barrier that Dr. Kelly said turns into a type of plastic. Now, with all of these forever chemicals that it takes hundreds of years to break them down, people are getting them. They're getting them through makeup. They're getting them through their diet. They're getting them through breathing things in. And these chemicals form this mucosal barrier. So you stop absorbing proteins, vitamins, minerals. It is ochrapepsin that attaches, that ochra sticky plant substance sticks to it. The pepsin, the first digestive enzyme ever found, ever discovered, breaks that mucosal barrier down. And so this is a very important product. And as I say, what I just went, it promotes the healing of the villi between the junctions. That's the E3 factor. That's the source of, it's sourced by a substance, an extract from comfrey called allantoin. And different people pronounce this different way, but I heard it on the pronounce app this morning, allantoin. This is an extract from comfrey that we still put in there that is the healing element. John Courtney taught me way before I read it or knew it from Dr. Lee, that this is the most healing substance for dermal structures, the skin on the outside, the skin on the inside, i.e. the intestinal tract. So you can read through the rest of it. By the way, ochrapepsin also has a substance in there that that neutralizes uric acid, by the way. And so that's another just gee whiz. And then, of course, in that protocol, if you were going to go beyond the ochrapepsin for that SIBO and balancing that gut biome, and believe me, that gut biome is not going to balance if it's not healthy. And not only from the food it's receiving, but the damage that was done from not being breastfed from the very beginning, from the foods that were initiated in that individual's life, that really wasn't, that foods and substances that they could not digest, they couldn't handle them. So that's where that breakdown happens. So the healing of that, the capillaries in the small intestine, many places in the body, but particularly the small intestine, the key product is Cyruta Plus, of course. Then we want to think about actually getting rid of this dysbiosis, these chemicals, this imbalance. And it's part of a bowel flora protocol that has been used to treat candida, diarrhea, and gut dysbiosis in particular. Now, this product was out of the market for quite a while, but we have it now. Any healthy condition linked to intestinal dysbiosis, such as autoimmune disease, any autoimmune condition, gut disorders, food sensitivities, skin problems, poor immunity, fatigue, and we could add here breast and colon cancer, And we could add here anxiety and depression for sure. Inhibits the growth and the number of pathogenic organisms. Now remember, this is a particular product that's very powerful. It's in it, and it does detox. So this should not be used all the time. And I'm going to show you how to use this properly. This is a powerful substance. Can't use it all the time. You will overstimulate and over toxify the body. So you don't want to use it all the time. Now, when this was not available from MediHerb, which it is now.
No, Joseph, I
Yes.
need to, I think you're misspeaking. I just checked. It's still no longer available.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Lynn. So there you have it. But this is a great product. Oh, yes, that's right. What happened was the facility where they made this gut flora complex burned down, and they still are in the process of rebuilding it. Yes, thank you for that reminder. So the one that we recommend, and listen, Lynn and I and others have been using this, and it's very good. I have a case that's in my archives, in my YouTube channel, a case, a gentleman, a client. In fact, I'm going to go stay with him and his wife on my way to Arizona, leave today, this afternoon. Wonderful people that have become friends. He had chronic hives, and nothing could get rid of them. You know, he could take drugs for it, but you don't want to stay on those drugs, of course. So, and you can read about how I helped him clear that. But this product was originally what we used years ago was caprylic acid, and now this is undercyclic acid, which is even stronger. It's even more effective, and it's a derivative from castor oil. So what is castor oil? Now, castor oil packs are in my book. What do you use it for? All kinds of skin conditions, blood circulation problems. These are the ones that my grandmother used on us when we were sick, and my parents. This is an old, because the different components and this undercyclic selenic acid and the caprylic acid in the castor oil helps with mainly it stimulates waste to be eliminated. So, and it's great. What we used that were given as children, these castor oil packs. You can buy the packs online. I looked it up before this morning. You can buy the packs online, and I use it for respiratory, all colds and flu, anything to do with the lungs, any type of, and digestive issues. If you have the chronic upset stomach, castor oil packs are amazing. So this is the one you take. Now, how do you take it? So, and then the other product, of course, is the MediClay, which is an adsorbent. So this is going to kill off these toxic chemicals and any type of bacteria, foreign bacteria, from mold to yeast and other chemicals. So this is your key product to kill it off. Then you need to get it out. And so we used to have a product, of course, called Colocol 2, which was montmorillonite clay and bile salts. Well, they took it off the market. So I looked, and I put this in my book. Now, Standard has a new product, GI Absorb. I didn't put it in here because I haven't used it. And I looked up some of the components, and it just didn't, it's not, I already have something that works. So I might try that down the road here. You can try it and give me your feedback, of course. Standard always puts out great products. But the old reliable, going back to the days of Weston A. Price, was montmorillonite clay. bentonite clays. And in fact, VE Irons used to carry, which is now Sone Products, still carries to this day bentonite clays. That's another one, but that's in a liquid form. I wanted to get a product in a capsule form. And that's why I found this one out of Austin, Texas. I called them in all the ranges of metals that they were concerned about in the Colacol 2, which was not valid. They're thinking of that, but anyway, no big deal. That's how the story goes. They didn't want to take a chance on people taking this all the time and then getting these metals that, but this is a clay. The metals don't go into the body. The metals stay in the clay. So, what they were thinking was not really what was going on. We had used Colacol 2 since I was 13 years old as a small boy for all kinds of diarrhea and GI problems. So this is the clay less the bile salts. So some of you are thinking right now, well, Joe, what happens if, I really want Colacol 2, which is this clay with Colacol. So just add in the Colacol, the bile salts, which is a good way of thinking. If you're thinking that way, you're really thinking broadly, because the bile salts are going to stimulate liver function so that more gets pushed into the GI tract to get rid of it. All the bad fats that we eat. Remember, a bile molecule must attach to that fat for it to be broken down and gotten rid of out through the bowel. So there it is. Now, why am I spending so much time on this? This all relates to anxiety and depression. You can read the research. If the bowel is not right, the person is not going to be right. And for a lot of people, it affects them mentally and emotionally. Now, the other product that has been tried and true is Gastrex. And if you look, this is from one of Dr. Lee's original books, the Products Bulletin, which you all should have. Look what it says. Indigestion, heartburn, sour stomach, any type of intestinal problems, such as ulcers, gastric pain, which is eating, again, relieves, and gastritis of any kind. So this is also in that protocol. And by the way, I don't know if it still does, but this used to have that allantoin in it as well. So I'm not sure whether it still does. And of course, with any condition that a person is working with related to how they're thinking, how they're feeling, and their gut, at what point does that situation become autoimmune? And so what does that mean? That now the immune system now is attacking the gut. That's what Crohn's is. Now, I have a family member that's had Crohn's since she was 18 years old. So I have grown up, and she still does to this day, even though she's had part of her intestine removed, she does very well. And so because of the nutrition added, but that's autoimmune. And that's hard without using chronic steroids all the time, which you can't stay on steroids. That lowers the immune assault for a while, but then it picks back up. So this is the product. This is the great protector. This is the great bear. The bear energy is the protector. Think of the mother bear. This is the great substance that really inhibits the attack. on that particular tissue. When it says PMG, that is bare energy, just so you know. And that is what the dermatrophin provides. Now, I put this down on the list of the protocol, wherever it is, but really, in any condition where you're looking at mental aberrations of any kind related and we're working with the gut, you really should have the dermatrophin. If you don't remember anything about what I say today, remember this. No matter what condition you're working with, what protocol you're using, there must be a protomorphogen related to that condition. And they need to stay on it until that condition clears. So that's very important. So the reason I put this H. pylori bacteria protocol in was not to get into this, but remember, if somebody has chronic anxiety and depression, they have chronic digestive problems, from diarrhea to constipation, the whole range. And so maybe you're doing all the things that help, right? All the things for their small and large intestine, which we'll get to in a second. And they're still not getting better. They have this chronic, they can't, their stomach will not empty, or they have chronic heartburn that only drugs handle. More than likely, they have H. pylori bacteria. That's affecting how they are. That's affecting how their motivation, how they feel, if they want to keep going, if they want to even eat, it affects it. So these are the products. Now remember, just one comment on here, and I think maybe I talked about it here. Hold on a second. Oh, no, I don't talk about that. Okay, so the one thing that I want to point out about Zypan being first, be careful with, and you need to look up in my book to do the apple cider vinegar test before you use Zypan. A lot of these H. pylori heartburn and from H. pylori bacteria, if you give them Zypan, it'll get worse. Some people, it absolutely clears it, but not many. So I put that with a, you need to put that in your notes for sure. The one that will soothe is the high pep, Mediclay, and the garlic will help kill that off. In my opinion, if you have this H. pylori bacteria, which is a simple blood test, you should do the antibiotics. You should do them. Get rid of it. Don't let this thing linger in your system, especially if you're struggling mentally and emotionally. And the other one is this gastrophoresis. So what is that? This is very common in people. They don't even know they have it. It's caused by a nerve injury, including damage to the vagus nerve. Someone get punched in the stomach. Children that play sports. In its normal state, the vagus nerve contracts, tightens your stomach muscles to move food through your digestive tract. In cases of gastrophoresis, diabetes damages your vagus nerve. This prevents muscles of your stomach and intestine from working properly, which keeps food from moving through your stomach into your intestines. The thing that I ask clients is, are you hungry in the morning? No, never hungry. My food is just sitting there. That to some degree they have this. Your food should move through your stomach into that 12 to 18 inches of your intestinal tract in 3 hours. Shouldn't be there in the morning. So remember that if you have that, you need to get on these products. These products, here is 4 protomorphogens in the Paraplex and of course hypothalamus, which we'll talk about a little bit later, which begins to straighten this out. The other product, when you have any type of vagus nerve, so remember this in all of your notes of Joseph. If you have a vagus nerve issue, heartburn, this gastrophoresis, any digestive problem where your food is not moving, you need to use organically bound minerals. Okay. And I'm not going to go into this in detail. You can read through, but this provides someone with a high acid stomach, for instance, all of these things. And so, because this is the great potassium source, and it also has the other electrolytes, that calms the vagus nerve. And this ties in, we teach it with people with palpitation, or they get palpitation if they eat a lot of sugar. Well, here's the reason why, is because it helps act as a governor, or here's Dr. Lee says it here. It acts as a governor for the muscles that are contracting to move food through the digestive system. So here Dr. Lee talks about organically bound minerals. And here's the person, you think about anxiety, depression, dislike for closed rooms, high altitude discomfort, irregular respiration, people that get very nervous, tachycardia, photophobia, insomnia. Do you see, this is all tied in with this vagus nerve issue related to digestion. The person that is over alert, quick movements, people that knock things over all the time. They avoid emotional situations, which provoke hyperthyroid, but people that avoid intense conversations, spasms in the esophagus, cramps, sphincters. This is all organically bound minerals. So if you get a person with digestive stress, with anxiety and depression, as I say, usually they have it, you also want to think of that upper part of the digestive. That's why I put it in here. So now let's get to this part, which is very important. Goes back to those products, the gut flora and the other product that we discussed. Gut dysbiosis. So here is where, in my opinion, everyone should be, not only people with depression and anxiety, everyone should do this twice a year for 6 weekends. Twice a year, 6 weekends. Because the purge part of that is just Saturday and Sunday. And you see how I outlined it here to make it easier for you. Here it is. So for Saturday and Sunday for 6 weekends, couples should do it together. Because a lot, you say anxiety, even in a relationship, the relationship with partners, the relationship with work, can all usually be tied back into poor digestion and these overgrowths that are creating this imbalance. And so you're always upset, always that factor, especially if you're in sales or you're pressured with finances, you're always going to have a factor with your digestion, especially if there are influences in that biome. It's going to affect everything. And so the weeding is on Saturday and Sunday. Now you would use the gut flora and Zymex, which we'll get to. So this is a simplified version of what I have here, okay? That's why I did this. You can use the secondary products, but they're not. The key ones are these two: on Saturday and Sunday, 6 weekends, twice a year. Even if you did it once a year, but usually twice a year. It's not hard to do. So, and then during the week, you simply use lactic acid yeast, Enzicor, Lactens, or Ochrapepsin. Those would be your choices. You don't have to use all 4. So, and remember that the key product to weeding is this gut flora, which is not available. So you have to use the Thorne formula SF722. So remember that. So in the weeding, this product, Zymex, I wanted to just go through this. If a person has been on medications, if a person has had especially antibiotics, primarily taken after antibiotic use, or toxic liver and kidney conditions. So this is really the product now, because we're familiar with lactic acid yeast. We've used that, and that's from fermentation, which is a great probiotic product substance to use. But if you've been on a lot of and exposed to a lot of chemicals, and you do have a toxic liver, you do have kidney issues, you definitely want to use this product in that that weekend where you're weeding. Okay, so just remember that as far as using Zymex. And you can read through these other products that are in that weed and feed, Spanish black radish and Vitaminox and lactic acid yeast, all of these. I'm not going to review all of this. So how do we know if someone has chronic mental and emotional issues? They have a lot of depression. Now, in your intake, of course, you're going to find that out. If they have a lot of anxiety, which is so common, 1 out of 10 people, you need to find out what is going on with that gut. And so I'm going to have Lynn now come in and talk to you about this diagnostics, which is the other. So the system survey form and this are your 2 primary ways of testing people to see if they have imbalances so that they can be corrected and help their anxiety and depression. So Lynn, go ahead if you're there.
Yep, this is a company that I've used again for years. And I started using them for hormonal tests, adrenal tests, postmenopausal hormonal saliva tests. And their GI panel, especially the number 2, is a great overview of all that's going on in the gut. I may talk about, people may say, well, I'll ask my doctor to look for parasites. And I'll say, they'll say, well, it may be this parasite or it may be this bacteria. We'll look for that. Diagnostics says, we don't know what's going on. Let's look at everything and see what's going on. So it looks at bacterial overgrowth, yeast overgrowth, both microscopically as well as they culture it, parasites. They look at antibodies to gluten, dairy, soy, and egg so that you can eliminate those from people's diets until they get the gut lining turned around and the microbiome turned around and healed. Digestive function markers, looking chymotrypsin. We talk a lot about chymotrypsin, so they also look at that, and the pH of the stool, markers of intestinal inflammation, and the mucosal immune function. And what's interesting about this and why it's good to get yourself educated on this is that sometimes a test can come back and look like, well, there's nothing going on. But when you look at the SIG-A, if you look at the health of the immune function lining, it's very compromised, it's very low. And so it's like the body can't even tell you what's going on. So then that would be a case where you'd want to just, work on the gut lining and get the gut healed, doing many of the things that we've been talking about all day, retest for the SIG-A. And once the SIG-A has come up, then redo the test and see what is revealed. For example, I've had this test come back and say the gluten is negative, but their immune function is so low, the gut lining can't even tell you you've got a problem. So that's something to keep in mind. And it also looks for fecal occult blood, so any bleeding. And it's a detailed test where it's 2 samples taken on 2 separate days, and including saliva tests. And with the directions to stay off all of your supplements, especially those that would be putting, some of your critters back in. You want to stay off of all your supplements for 4 or 5 days prior to taking the test, so that you can look at what's going on in the body without all the support that you're doing. How are things doing? And so, just what I want to comment on too, Joseph and I, work as a team. So he'll lean on me for, helping, look at the tests and interpreting them. And I lean on him for other things. So, one of the things I just want to say is that when you get one of us, you get both of us, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So this is a great test. And what I like about using a company that I've used for a long period of time is that then I can go back and I can compare apples to apples instead of apples to oranges if I'm constantly looking for a new company and using a new company. So yeah, and they're always developing and expanding themselves. So but that's just been my choice of a company to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, I'm sure there's others out there, but this is the one that we have found. We have gotten to the bottom of things mostly using this company. And I tell you, we've had some cases of weird things, from chronic heart arrhythmias. We fixed their gut. Just case after case where you look at the gut. That's why, in my opinion, all of us, everyone should have this GI panel done at least once a year, even twice a year. Especially if they have mental, emotional. If they have depression, anxiety, they need to stay on this. And listen, I've had clients that we found out they had parasites. They were depressed. They had a nervous breakdown. One client I can think of, I did this on them. That's not one I worked with Lynn with years ago. And she had parasites. She was a dog groomer. She got parasites, had a nervous breakdown. And another client, that same thing. So this is so important. And that's why what I read to you in the beginning of this hour is they're finding this is the key here. This is the window into this anxiety and depression. It's not all of it, but it's a big part of it. It's one of the keys to stabilization, to stabilizing that person mentally and emotionally. I had another client that went through a heartbreak. There was that factor. I ran tests. Yes, a tremendous imbalance. She had yeast overgrowth, and all of her hair was starting to fall out. So we got her on the products that I reviewed today, and her hair started coming back in. When it came back in, it was white. That's how mentally and emotionally it can affect people. But we have to reestablish that balance and foundation from years of chemicals and imbalances of yeast, parasites, all kinds of foreign bacteria that does not serve that person. So that's the first part of this. The second part, which we'll start on because we have another 20 minutes here, is brain chemistry and confusion. So when we look at depression and anxiety, we really want to look at how to calm the brain and the nervous system. And we have some great products for that. And I'll go through the primary ones that I use in my practice, and I've used for years. And as you can see, now Mintran is half Orchex, but it's not really powerful enough. This would be more for a Minchex, is half Mintran and half Orchex. But Orchex is the big guns. And the reason is when the other factors of digestion, other factors in their life, in their environment, they cannot relax. You need a particular enzyme called hyaluronidase, because the activity in the nerve synapses is overloaded. So remember, you have 1,000 trillion nerve abscess. You have 100 trillion in your brain, and then another 900,000 throughout your body. If these chemicals, these called neurotransmitters, and there's about 50 of them, are not functioning, or not in balance, then the person can never relax. They can never rest. They're always, and there's all kinds of terminology for that. Oh, they're ADD, they're ADHD, they're whatever. But in the end, from a nutritional standpoint, we just have to balance these nerve synapses throughout the body. And this is the best way to do it. So this enzyme, hyaluronidase, spreads out these neurotransmitters so they're not overfiring the nerve synapse. It's as simple as that. The other product that I used and I've recommended for migraines to all kinds of mental and emotional and nervous system issues is Neuroplex. So if you look at Neuroplex and you see what's in it, you will see that it has pineal, it has that orchic extract, right? It has the hyaluronidase, and it has porcine brain, which includes pineal. It has spleen, and it has hypothalamus, anterior pituitary, and also not only the protomorphogen, but the cytosol extract of those as well. So that means that not only does this product increase that protomorphogen effect of the immune system attacking, and listen, no one in the allopathy would agree, but do you think anxiety and depression is autoimmune? Do you think it comes out of a trauma, an injury, where now the immune system is attacking that organ, the brain, and those parts of the brain? According to what I have found in 50 years, yes, it is. That's why you want the neurotrophin. You don't know what injuries children you've had, or your family, or if they have these problems. You don't know what injuries they had as a child. Did they fall, car accidents, all kinds of issues. We don't know. But using a product like this that covers the full range is really the key. And that's why this, of course, is my second product. Now, if you know they have had a closed head injury, they just had a young man playing football, whatever, you want to use the straight neurotrophin. That's why I have OR. So I'm not going to get into that. That's not our discussion. But Neuroplex is your key. And then a lot of these hormones that affect the brain chemistry, what do you make these hormones out of? You make them out of amino acids. And so the 8 of the 22, most of us get 14 amino acids when we eat a steak, or even if it's overcooked, or other proteins, nuts, fish. But 8 of them, if it's overcooked, are destroyed. And those are the essential. And that's what protofood, in my opinion, just like John Courtney said, protofood, I had called him when I first started, and I said, John, I really want to know, I want to detail a product that you feel is the most important product Standard Process makes that relates to everything else. Here it is. Protofood is the most important. Then he wrote me this letter, and this is a quote from the letter. The protofood is the most important product Standard Process makes. It's the result of many years of research to find critical elements of deficiency in the average diet other than vitamins and minerals. So without all 22 amino acids, your body it can't sustain cellular integrity, and it can't make new cells. It can't sustain an organ. The organ begins to decay. That's why I say malnutrition, inflammation, disease. So you can read this through. You can look at the different ways that this. Now, we were talking about the digestive system. Without the heat labile amino acid histidine, you have duodenal ulcers. That's what that. Now, they're very kind in saying it's suspected. These are all facts that we have known for years. Threonine, ascites and edema, tryptophan, which is really what we are related to our talk today, mental confusion, melancholy, lethargy, all of those. So this is a very important product. And remember, methionine for the cornea of the eye, stunting in children. And you can go on and read these through, which all tie in with our discussion today, with these brain conditions, because what are we looking at when we're looking at the brain? We're looking at these hormones that the brain, that the pineal, pituitary, and the hypothalamus in particular in the brain produce. You cannot make them. You cannot make them without all 22 amino acids. And this is why I teach this. I've taught it many times to you, and here it is again. And I'll give you one other example, which is not in here. I was just looking for it, is tyrosine. You cannot make adrenal hormone, pituitary hormone, thyroid, hypothalamus hormone, and pituitary hormone without tyrosine. Where are you going to get it? In the amounts that you need. You can't use a chemical form of it, a concentrate. All of the amino acids you must get from food at one time. There's no way you can pick and choose. People have done it, and you see the results. The other interesting for anxiety and depression is magnesium. Now, Standard just came out. It's not a well-known product. Everybody uses the magnesium lactate, but it's not. Magnesium lactate isn't the full range of magnesium. Okay, so you need that, again, that full range. Well, how do you get that? Well, you get it through food. Okay, so let's just look at the ingredients. Oh, buckwheat and Swiss chard. So here's Cyruta Plus and Beta Food, really in good amount of potassium. So 6 tablets is 310 milligrams of potassium. It's pretty good. It's about 10% of what you need in a day, 7%. So, and here is of many articles. This one is from Mark Anderson, and my appreciation for him letting me use this. They have found that these ranges of magnesium help with neuromuscular and psychiatric symptoms, including depression and other things as well. So, apart from being administered as components of dietary supplements, they are also perceived as an effect agent in the treatment of migraines, alcoholism. This is magnesium, everyone. Asthma, heart disease. We know that, we've studied that. Arrhythmias, yes. Renal calcium stones, premenstrual tension, all of that. Again, mental and emotional conditions. So the herb for anxiety and depression is Nevaton. And this is really my favorite. No household should be without it. Stressful days, stressful nights. And it is a combination of 3 herbs: St. John's wort, schizandra fruit, and saffron and skullcap. And so I didn't put schizandra, I missed that. I didn't put that in. But skullcap is the herb for the person that is angry. So, and you can read this through, is a sedative, it's an antispasmodic, it's a hypotensive that has been used to help treat nervous heart disorders, hypotensive, yes, nervous exhaustion and anxiety. It's a great herb, this combination, or you could use this as a single. People have called me and said, you know, what do I do with this person? Every time they get upset, they get like really angry, throwing stuff. This is the herb to use for that. Other herbs are good. Of course, St. John's wort for ADD and other conditions are wonderful. And depression, menopausal symptoms, and you can read about that. Saffron, which Kerry Bone changed that formula back along the way, is known as the sunshine spice. And not only to its color, but what it does. And it's used for mild to moderate depression. So it's a great formula, this Nevaton. So that is the protocol that I recommend if you look at for depression and anxiety from my book. So now, if you, I reviewed obviously the Orchex, the Neuroplex, the Protofood, the Easy Mag, and then I did the Nevaton. There are other things that in part 2 we will look at related in this protocol to the thyroid, to the brain itself with B vitamins like inositol, and other factors, B6 and niacinamide. So we'll look at that next month when we do part 2 of this. And so I'm going to leave it here. It's 12:25. And because this next section is so important, I really want to get into this and what Dr. Huberman is teaching. Dr. Andrew Huberman is teaching about dopamine in relationship to not only managing stress, but anxiety and depression. So I'm going to leave that till next month. And I appreciate all of you being on. Remember, this was recorded, so you can get the notes and the recording, because I talked about a lot here. So you can get that and listen to it. And if you have insomnia and you listen to me just before bed, it'll put you right to sleep. So, no, I'm just kidding. So wonderful to be with you all. A happy new year. This is the launching of our new year Zoom webinars on adjuvant protocols for healing and the various products, supplements and herbs and lifestyle that we talk about, how to use them effectively with people. So my blessings to you all, and I will be with you in 1 month, the 3rd Thursday of February. Be well, everyone.
Joseph, stop the recording, but I need to finish an email in the chat box.
Okay, I stopped it.